Hold her hands. A thief must not escape. Musa twisted Ease's arms behind her as 47 food vouchers spilled from her torn canvas bag and scattered across the polished floor. The crowd gasped. Ease stared at the vouchers as if they were snakes. I have never seen those papers before. Ronka Balagan stepped forward in her ruby-red dress and crushed Easy's last plate of jollof rice beneath her heel. Look at you. You came here smelling of smoke and poverty, then decided to steal food meant for hungry people. Laughter broke from the suppliers standing nearby. Beside Ease, an old man in a faded brown caftan struggled to rise. She gave me that food, he said. It was her last meal. Ronka turned on him. And who asked the beggar to speak? A security guard shoved the old man backwards. Ease tore one arm free and threw herself between them. Do not touch him. Nobody in that hall knew the man she was protecting was the father of the company's CEO. And before that day ended, every person laughing at her would wish they had kept their mouths shut. Do not leave this story halfway. Comment your city, country, and local time below, and subscribe now. Because what happened when the CEO entered that hall changed everything. 36 hours earlier, before the vouchers, before the cameras, before Ease's name became a dirty joke. In places where she had once sold food with pride, she was standing in a narrow kitchen in Ajig, counting money that could not solve all her problems. The kitchen was not really a kitchen. It was the back section of a rented room, divided by a plywood board. One side held a foam mattress, a metal trunk, and a standing fan that worked only when Nipa decided to behave. The other side held 2 gas burners, 3 aluminium pots, a cracked plastic shelf, and the small stainless steel tables had bought second-hand from a woman relocating to Ibadan. On that table lay 17,850 naira. Ease counted it once, then again, then a third time as if the notes might multiply out of pity. They did not. She pressed both palms on the table and closed her eyes. God, I am not asking for mansion, she whispered. I am not asking for car. Just let this one door open without somebody demanding what I do not have. Her phone lay beside the money. The email on the screen had arrived at 6:43 that evening. Congratulations. You have been shortlisted for the Community Food Vendor Assessment under the One Plate Forward program. Please report to Okafor Foods and Logistics Distribution Center, Ojota, by 9 a.m. on Thursday. Prepare 27 sample portions. Late arrivals will not be admitted. 27 portions. Ease had calculated the cost 4 times. If she bought the cheapest ingredients, the food would be poor. If she bought the best ingredients, she would have nothing left for transport. If she reduced the protein, the judges would say she did not understand nutrition. If she borrowed money, the lender near the bus stop would add interest before sunset. So she made a decision that frightened her. She would spend almost everything. The contract, if she won it, would require 600 portions every week for 6 months. It would not make her rich. It would do something better. It would give her predictable income. It would allow her to rent a proper kitchen with running water. It would stop landlords from looking at her food trays as if she was carrying smoke and trouble into their compound. She picked up the money and separated it into small piles. 5,200 for rice and beans. 3,600 for tomatoes, pepper, onions, and vegetables. 3,800 for oil and spices. 2,100 for eggs and crayfish. 1,600 for paper packs, labels, and transport nylon. 1,550 for gas and transport. Nothing for breakfast, nothing for lunch, nothing for mistakes. Ease laughed once, but there was no joy inside it. See budgeting, she said to herself. Even suffering has spreadsheet. She tied the money into the corner of a handkerchief, pushed her feet into worn sandals, and left for the night market before prices could rise again in the morning. Ajegi was still awake. Danfo horns fought with generators. A woman selling roasted corn shouted over a bus conductor. Two mechanics argued beside a gutter, as if the fate of Nigeria depended on one missing spanner. Smoke curled above the roadside stalls, carrying the smell of suya, engine oil, ripe plantain, and rain that had not yet fallen. Ise moved quickly. At every stall, she checked before she paid. She turned tomatoes in her palm to test their firmness. She smelled the rice bag. She rejected a bottle of oil because the seal had lifted. She asked for the date on the egg crate. When the vegetable seller tried to push bruised carrots into the bottom of the nylon, Ise removed them, one by one. "My sister, leave small thing for me now," the seller complained. "I am leaving profit for you," Ise replied. "I am not leaving spoiled carrot for my customer." The seller squeezed her face, then replaced the vegetables. By 9:18 p.m., Ise was back in her room. She washed every surface twice. She covered her hair. She labeled 2 bowls for raw ingredients and 2 for cooked food. She placed a handwritten sheet on the wall, showing preparation time, holding temperature and allergens. Nobody had taught her to do these things in any expensive school. She learned them after a woman once collapsed at a factory canteen where Ise worked. The food contained groundnut powder, but nobody had written it down. The woman survived, the shame remained. From that day, Ise promised herself that poverty would never be an excuse for careless food. At 10:07 p.m., she began the moi moi. At 11:32 p.m., she blended the pepper. At 1:14 a.m., the first pot of jollof rice was ready. She opened the lid, and steam rose into her face. The color was deep and even. The grains stood apart. The aroma filled the small room and slipped under the door into the corridor. Someone knocked. "Ise, this smell wants to kill person," a neighbor called from outside. Ise smiled but did not open the door. "Tomorrow, after my assessment, I will give you small." "Promise?" "Promise." The neighbor's footsteps faded. Ise looked at the food and swallowed. She had not eaten since noon. She took 1 spoonful, tasted the salt, and stopped. Every grain had a destination. At 3:26 a.m., she finished portioning the meals. 27 white paper packs stood in rows on the table. Each one had a small cream label with the preparation time, ingredients, and a line written in neat black ink. "Consume before 2:30 p.m. Keep covered." She counted again. 27. Then she took an old orange lunchbox from the shelf and filled it with 1 modest portion for herself. It was not part of the assessment. It was the only meal she planned to eat that day. She washed, changed into a burnt orange blouse and a light turquoise wrapper, then tied a cream apron over them. The colors made her look brighter than she felt. Her hands were rough from heat and detergent. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep. Still, when she faced the mirror, she lifted her chin. "You are not going there to beg," she told her reflection. "You are going there to compete." At 6:12 a.m., she carried the insulated food boxes downstairs. The sky over Lagos was pale gray. A light breeze moved dust across the road. She hired a tricycle to take her to the main bus stop, then entered a bus heading towards Ohota. Traffic caught them near Maryland. The bus moved 3 meters, stopped, moved again, and stopped longer. The driver blamed road construction. The passengers blamed the government. One man blamed everybody except himself, while eating boiled groundnuts and dropping the shells on the floor. Ise checked the time every 2 minutes. 7:41. 7:58. 8:16. She called the number in the email. Nobody answered. At 8:29, rain began. It fell hard and sudden, drumming on the bus roof, turning the road edges brown. Water entered through a broken window and splashed one of Ease's insulated boxes. She pulled it closer and covered it with her wrapper. A woman beside her looked at the food boxes. "Are you going for party? Assessment? Which company?" "Okafor Foods." The woman gave a low whistle. "Big people." Ease nodded. "Big people still eat food?" "Yes," the woman said, "but sometimes they forget who cooks it." The bus finally reached Ojota at 8:43. Ease climbed down with both boxes, nearly slipped in the mud, and walked the last stretch under the rain because no tricycle wanted to carry the bulky load. She reached the distribution center gate at 8:56 a.m., 4 minutes early. The guard at the gate looked at her damp wrapper and the food boxes. "Vedant assessment?" "Yes, sir." "Name?" "Ese Adebayo." He checked a printed list and pointed towards the inner yard. "Go straight." "Registration table is beside the blue canopy." Ease thanked him and entered. The compound was larger than she expected. Delivery trucks stood in neat lines near the warehouse. A temporary canopy had been set up in the center, with white tables for the food vendors and a branded backdrop that read, "One plate forward." Feeding with dignity. Ease slowed when she saw it. Feeding with dignity. The words were printed in gold. Around her, vendors arrived with assistants, matching uniforms, stainless steel warmers, and printed banners. One company brought a refrigerated van. Another vendor had 3 workers arranging decorated trays, as if they were preparing for a wedding reception. Ease looked down at her 2 insulated boxes. For 1 second, her courage shook. Then she remembered the labels on her packs. She remembered the clean water she had boiled when the tap ran brown. She remembered that good food did not become bad because it arrived without a van. At the registration table, an employee scanned her invitation and gave her number 23. "Set up at the far end," the employee said. "Do not serve anybody until the panel arrives." Ease nodded. She carried her boxes past the other vendors. Some glanced at her. One man looked at her small table and smiled in a way that was not friendly. "Madam, did you come for community donation?" he asked. "No, assessment." He looked at her apron, then at his own embroidered chef jacket. "Okay, everybody has dream." Ease did not answer. She opened her boxes, checked the temperature, and arranged the 27 samples in 3 rows. She placed a small, handwritten card in front of them. "Jollof rice. Moi moi, steamed vegetables. Contains egg and crayfish. No groundnut." At 9:21 a.m., no panel had arrived. At 9:47, still no panel. By 10:13, the sun had returned with full anger. The wet ground steamed. Staff rushed in and out of the warehouse. A media crew tested lights near the branded wall. An employee told the vendors to keep waiting because the chief operating officer was in a meeting. Ease checked her food temperature again. She had planned for delay, but not endless delay. She asked the registration employee whether the judging would begin before noon. "Madam." "Relax," the woman replied without looking up. "You people always think your own matter is the only matter." "I am asking because of food safety." The woman finally looked at her. "Are you teaching us our work?" "No, I only need to know whether to move the samples into the cooling room. There is no space for outside vendors in our cooling room. Then the tasting should not be delayed too long." The woman waved her away. Ease returned to her table. Near the warehouse entrance, 2 workers rolled out blue plastic crates bearing the One Plate Forward logo. They loaded the crates into a black delivery truck with no charity markings. Ease watched one crate tilt. Through the gap, she saw sealed packs of rice, cooking oil, and canned fish. A label on the side read, "Community de Distribution, Zone 4. The black truck displayed a commercial catering company sticker. Ease frowned. Maybe it was a transfer. Maybe the company had many vehicles. Maybe there was a proper explanation. She took out her phone and snapped a photograph of her food display, not the truck. The picture caught the edge of the loading area behind her. She did not even notice the crate label in the background. At 10:36 a.m., an old man arrived at the outer gate. He wore a faded brown kaftan that had been washed so many times the cloth had lost its original color. His cream cap was soft at the edges. His leather slippers were old but clean. He walked with a cane, not because he could not walk, but because his left leg still became weak when he was tired. The guard at the gate looked him over. "Where are you going, Baba?" "One plate forward collection point." The guard pointed towards a side shed where a queue of older people waited. "Go there!" The old man joined the line. His name was Chief Bode Okafor. 29 years earlier, he had founded Okafor Foods with one delivery van, a rented warehouse, and money borrowed against land his late wife inherited. He built the company by supplying rice and beans to small schools, hospitals, and factory canteens. He knew what spoiled grain smelled like. He knew how many bags could fit inside a Bedford truck without overloading the axle. He knew the difference between profit and theft. 3 years earlier, after a mild stroke, he stepped away from daily management. His son Tayo became chief executive. Chief Bode remained a non-executive founder with special inspection rights, written into the company's articles. Most people in the company had never met him. Ronke Balogun joined after his retirement. Many younger staff knew his name only from a bronze plaque in the main office. The photographs used in annual reports showed a broad man in dark suits, standing straight, with a fuller face and black hair. Age, illness, grey hair, and a plain kaftan had changed him. That morning, he had not come to play a cruel game. He had come because 11 food vouchers were impossible. Each voucher had a unique serial number, yet the same 11 numbers appeared as redeemed in Ageje, Oshodi, and Ajagunle on the same dates. 2 complaint letters had mentioned elderly recipients being insulted when scanners rejected their cards. One letter said, staff demanded 2,000 naira before reactivating a voucher that was supposed to be free. Tayo had never shown him those letters. Chief Bode received copies from an old postal contact, who recognized his name on the foundation documents, and feared the complaints were being buried. At 7:20 that morning, he had asked Dele Coker to drive him to Ojota. Dele had worked with him for 24 years. Driver, messenger, witness, and sometimes the only person brave enough to tell him when he was behaving like an old lion inside a small room. "You cannot enter there alone, Chief," Dele had said. "I am not entering a forest." "You had stroke." "I had a mild stroke 3 years ago. I did not become egg." Deal had squeezed his face. "Your son will blame me. My son should first explain why hungry people have vouchers that have already been used in 3 places." They parked 400 meters from the center. Deal stayed close enough to watch and record, far enough not to reveal that the old man had arrived in a company-owned vehicle. The company lawyer knew Chief Bode was conducting a field inspection. A clinic nurse had also been informed of his route. Chief Bode took one of the suspect vouchers and joined the line. When his turn came, a young employee collected it without greeting him. The scanner beeped red. "Used," the employee said. Chief Bode leaned closer. "Used where?" "Baba, it has been used. I heard you." I asked where. The employee dropped the voucher on the table. "Next person." Chief Bode did not move. "My name and identification are attached to that voucher. If it has been used, show me the date and collection point." The people behind him shifted impatiently. The employee lowered his voice. "Baba, do not bring problem." The system said used. That is all. "Is there a complaints desk?" The employee laughed. This is complaints desk, collection desk, everything desk. Move. I have not collected food, and I cannot manufacture food from air for you. The employee picked up the voucher and tore one corner. Chief Bode's face hardened. Why did you damage it? To stop you from taking it somewhere else. That is evidence. Evidence of what? Hunger. The man behind Chief Bode muttered that the line was too slow. Someone else told the old man to leave it for God. The employee pointed away from the shed. Baba, a beg. Go and sit down somewhere. We cannot help you. Chief Bode stepped aside. He did not feel shame for himself. Shame had passed through him many years ago when he borrowed money, lost contracts, slept in a warehouse, and learned that a person could survive public failure. What he felt was anger. Quiet anger, the dangerous kind. He walked towards the main yard, intending to observe the vendor assessment and the warehouse movement before returning to delay. But the heat pressed down heavily. He had taken his morning medicine with only tea. By the time he reached the blue canopy, his left hand had begun to tremble. Ese noticed him because he stopped beside her table and gripped the edge as if the ground had shifted. Baba, I am fine. You are not fine. I said I am fine. Ese moved a chair towards him. Sit first, argue later. The old man looked at her. There was no fear in her voice, no artificial sweetness either. He sat. Ese poured water from her flask into a clean cup. Drink small. Chief Bode took the cup. His fingers shook against it. When did you last eat? Ese asked. He frowned. What kind of question is that? The kind that comes before somebody falls down near my food and they blame me. Despite himself, Chief Bode smiled. Last night. What time? Maybe 8. It was almost 11. Ese looked at the 27 assessment packs. She could not touch them. The rules were clear. Every portion had been counted and numbered. Then she looked at the orange lunchbox beneath the table. Her own food. She had been thinking about it for the past hour. She brought it out. Chief Bode raised one hand. No, my daughter. I did not come to beg from you. I did not say you came to beg. I have no money on me. I did not ask for money. You need it, so do you. Ese opened the box. Steam no longer rose, but the food was still warm. She set it before him with a disposable spoon. Eat. Chief Bode stared at the jollof rice, moi, and vegetables. What will you eat? I will manage. That is not an answer. It is the answer poor people use when the correct answer is not available. Chief Bode's eyes lifted to her face. Ese pushed the box closer. Hunger should not have to prove itself before it receives food. For a moment, the old man said nothing. A truck engine started near the warehouse. Staff shouted instructions. The media crew tested music through a speaker. Around them, the compound moved as if nothing important was happening. But something had shifted. Chief Bode ate the first spoonful slowly. He tasted smoke, tomato, thyme, and care. Not expensive care, not decorative care. The kind that pays attention. He noticed the label on the lunchbox. Prepared 3:32 a.m. Contains egg and crayfish. Consume before 2:30 p.m. You label your own food, he asked. I label everything. If somebody has allergy, neat packaging will not save the person. Who taught you? Mistake. He waited. Ese did not explain further. Some lessons did not need to be displayed like certificates. Chief Bode ate another spoonful. This moi is good. Good enough for 600 portions every week? He looked at the numbered packs. You are here for the vendor contract. Yes, and you gave your own meal to a stranger. You were shaking. You do not know me. Must I know you before your body deserves food? Chief Bode lowered his eyes. Before he could answer, a sharp voice cut across the canopy. What is this? Ronk Balagan stood 10 meters away. Even in the heat, she looked untouched. Her ruby-red dress held its shape perfectly. Her heels struck the concrete with controlled anger. A gold bracelet flashed at her wrist. 2 employees followed her, carrying a tablet and a folder. Every vendor became alert. Ronke was the chief operating officer. She controlled contracts, distribution schedules, vendor approvals, and the one-plate forward program. People said she could freeze a payment with 1 email and restore it only after a person learned how to kneel without touching the floor. She looked at Chief Bode, then at Ease, then at the branded backdrop behind them. Who allowed that man inside the assessment area? The registration employee hurried forward. Ma, he came from the collection side. We were about to remove him. Ease stood. He was weak. Ronke's eyes moved over E's damp wrapper, her small table, and her handwritten food card. Which vendor are you? Number 23, Ese Adebayo. Ronke checked the tablet held by her assistant. You are not here to run a roadside charity. I gave him my own meal, Ma. The samples are complete. Ronke's mouth tightened. Look around you. Cameras are arriving. Partners are arriving. This is a professional corporate assessment, not under-bridge feeding. You think people want to see one ragged old man bending over food in our media area? Chief Bode put down the spoon. The program behind you says, feeding with dignity. Ronke turned towards him with slow disbelief. And the beggar can read. Ease's face changed. Ma, he is an elder. Ronke looked back at her. Do not correct me. I am not correcting you. I am only saying there is no need to insult him. The air under the canopy became still. One vendor pretended to rearrange napkins. Another looked away. Nobody wanted Ronke's anger to remember their face. Ronke stepped closer. You people are becoming too bold in this, Lagos. Because you cooked 1 pot of rice in a face-me-I-face-you kitchen, you think you have entered the same room with executives. Ease's fingers tightened around the edge of her apron. I came because your company invited me. We invited a vendor, not a woman who carries hunger and confusion everywhere she goes. Chief Bode watched Ease carefully. She could have apologized. She could have moved away from him. She could have said the old man disturbed her. A contract was standing in front of her, wearing red and waiting for submission. Ease swallowed. Then she said, If kindness disqualifies me, write it clearly on the form. A small sound escaped from someone nearby, half gasp, half warning. Ronke's expression became cold. What did you say? I said, if feeding a hungry elder is against the assessment rules, write it as the reason you are removing me. Do not call it lack of professionalism. Ronke stared at her for 3 seconds. Then she smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of somebody who had just chosen where to bury a problem. Number 23 is disqualified, she said. E's lips parted. Ma, pack your small food and leave. The panel has not tasted it. They will survive. I spent everything I had to prepare those portions. Ronke looked at the table. Then let this teach you not to invest above your level. The words landed harder than a slap. Ease's eyes burned, but she did not cry. Not there. Ronke turned to the registration employee. Mark her as unsuitable. Conduct issue. Yes, Ma. Chief Bode rose slowly. You are disqualifying her because she fed me? Ronke gave him a dismissive glance. I am disqualifying her because she does not understand boundaries. Whose boundaries? My company's. For the first time, something almost like amusement passed through Chief Bode's face. Your company? Ronke did not notice the weight in his question. She was already looking towards the warehouse, where the black truck carrying blue charity crates had begun to move. Ease followed her gaze. Ma, those boxes say Adj Zone 4, Ease said. Why are they entering a commercial catering truck? Ronke stopped. The employees beside her also stopped. Chief Bode walked towards the truck. One blue crate had not been closed properly. A paper dispatch label fluttered against its side. Ronka turned back to Ease. What concern is that to you? I only asked because the one plate forward logo is on them. You only ask too many questions. If they are community supplies, enough. Ronka's voice cracked across the yard. The black truck drove towards the gate. Chief Bode bent as if adjusting his slipper. While doing so, he picked up a torn, duplicate dispatch label that had fallen near the wheel track. He folded it once and slipped it inside his caftan. Ronka saw the movement. Her eyes narrowed. She looked at Chief Bode again, this time with suspicion rather than disgust. Then she glanced at Musa Bello, the broad-shouldered security chief, standing near the warehouse door. Musa understood signals. He had survived 6 years under Ronki by learning when a look was an instruction. Ronki spoke softly to him as Ease began closing her food boxes. Find out who that old man is. Musa nodded. And make sure this food seller never returns here with questions. Musa's eyes shifted to Ease's canvas bag beneath the table. Yes, Ma. Ease packed slowly because her hands would not obey her. Each paper box felt heavier than when she carried it through the rain. 27 portions. 27 careful labels. 27 small proofs that she had not come to beg. Now they looked like evidence of foolish hope. The vendor in the embroidered chef jacket walked past her table. He did not laugh this time, but he did not meet her eyes either. That hurt more. Chief Bode remained beside her. My daughter, do not throw the food away. I will not. You can sell it. Where? Outside their gate. So they can say I came to disturb customers? Then give it to people. Ease closed the first insulated box harder than necessary. I did not cook 27 portions so rich people can reject me and call it charity when poor people eat the leftovers. Chief Bode heard the anger under her words. He did not correct it. She was right. Food given after dignity had been crushed could still fill the stomach. But it did not erase the crushing. The registration employee approached with a form. Madam Ease, come and sign that you have withdrawn. Ease looked at her. I did not withdraw. Whether you withdraw or they remove you, the result is the same. No, it is not the same, the employee sighed. Please do not make this thing long. Ease took the form. The box beside reason for exit had already been filled in. Vendor voluntarily withdrew after violating sanitation and access rules. Ease read it twice, then she handed it back. I will not sign this. The employee stared at her. But that is what happened. No. I was disqualified after giving my personal meal to an elderly man. My samples were not tasted. Nobody showed me the sanitation rule I violated. If you want my signature, write what happened. Madame Ronke has given instruction. Then Madame Ronke can sign it herself. The employee's face hardened. You think stubbornness will help you? I think my name belongs to me. Ease bent to lift the canvas bag. Musa appeared beside her. Madam, wait. She straightened. What is it? Management wants to reconsider. Ease looked towards Ronke, who stood near the media crew speaking to a man with a camera. Reconsider what? Your disqualification. Come to the waiting room. They want to review your file before final decision. The change was too sudden. Ease looked at Chief Bode. The old man's eyes had become watchful. Musa forced a polite smile. You said you spent all your money. At least hear them. That sentence touched the weakest place in her. Ease knew it. Still, the contract was 600 portions a week. 6 months. A proper kitchen. A life that did not collapse each time a customer delayed payment. She placed the canvas bag over her shoulder and reached for the insulated boxes. Leave the samples here, Musa said. You will come back. I do not leave food unattended. Security is here. My food is my responsibility. Musa's smile faded. Carry 1 box if you want, leave the other. The room is small. Ease hesitated. then carried the box containing 14 samples. She left the second beneath the table, zipped her canvas bag, and followed Musa into the administrative building. Chief Bode moved after them. Musna blocked him. "Baba, where are you going?" "With her." "Are you her father?" "No." "Then remain outside." Chief Bode looked at Ease. She gave him a small nod, trying to reassure him. "I will be fine, Baba." He did not believe her, but he stepped back. Musa led us through a corridor smelling of air freshener and printer ink. Employees moved past with ID cards around their necks. Some looked at her food box. One woman wrinkled her nose as if Ease had carried street dust into the building. The waiting room was near a side exit. It contained 4 plastic chairs, a water dispenser, and a table stacked with old magazines. "Sit," Musa said. "Who is coming?" "Management." "How long?" "Small time." He left. Ease remained standing. She checked her phone, 11:08 a.m. She opened the insulated box and measured the temperature again. Still safe, but falling. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. At 11:21, an employee came in and asked for her invitation email. Ease showed it on her phone. The employee took down the reference number and left. At 11:29, another employee entered and said the chief operating officer needed a photocopy of Easy's identification. Ease removed her ID card from the small inner pocket of her canvas bag. The employee waited while she took it out, then followed her to a copier at the far end of the corridor. For less than 2 minutes, the waiting room was empty. Musa entered through the side door. He carried a bundle of food vouchers inside a brown envelope. He looked once towards the corridor, unzipped Easy's canvas bag, and pushed the vouchers beneath her folded handkerchief. One corner remained visible. He adjusted it deliberately. Then he stepped out. The act took 23 seconds. A ceiling camera above the water dispenser recorded everything. Musa believed that camera fed only to the local security monitor. He did not know the system made an automatic encrypted backup every 6 hours to a remote server controlled by the audit department. Ease returned with her ID card and sat down. At 11:37, Ronki entered. She was no longer smiling. Behind her came Musa and 2 security guards. The registration employee followed with a clipboard. He stood. "Ma, you asked to review my file." Ronki closed the door. "Yes, we received a report." "What report?" "That vouchers are missing from the program desk." Ease frowned. "What does that have to do with me?" "We will find out." Ronki looked at Musa. "Search her things." Ease stepped in front of her canvas bag. "No." The guards moved closer. Ronki lifted one eyebrow. "You are refusing a search on company property?" "I am asking why you suspect me." "You were seen moving near the distribution area." "I came through the gate and went to my assigned table." "You questioned the charity shipment." "Questioning a truck is not stealing vouchers." Ronki's voice sharpened. "You do not dictate procedure here." Ease picked up her phone. "Then, call the police if you believe I stole something. Let the search be recorded." For the first time, Ronki's confidence flickered. Only for a second. Then she reached forward and slapped the phone from Easy's hand. It hit the floor and slid beneath a chair. "Poor people have become too dramatic," Ronki said. "Every instruction is oppression. Every consequence is wickedness." Ease stared at the phone. The room was silent. Then she looked at Ronki. "Do not touch my property again." Musa grabbed Ease's shoulder. "Mind how you speak." Ease pulled away. "I said, call the police." Ronki opened the door. "No. Let everybody see what kind of person is trying to enter our vendor system." She ordered the guards to carry Easy's bag and food box back into the yard. Ease followed because they had her belongings. By the time they reached the canopy, the panel had arrived. Employees, vendors, media staff, and community representatives were gathered near the branded backdrop. Ronki walked into the center of them as if she was stepping onto a stage built for her. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, "we have an unfortunate security matter." Ese stopped. Her stomach turned cold. Ronka pointed at her. This applicant was found loitering near controlled program materials. Several food vouchers are missing. Easy's voice rose. "That is a lie. You kept me inside a waiting room." Musa placed the canvas bag on a white table. Ronke addressed the crowd. "We will conduct a transparent search." "Transparent?" Ese said. "You refused to call the police. You slapped my phone away." A few people lifted their phones to record. Ronka's eyes flashed, but the cameras had already given her another idea. "Good," she said. "Record it. Let nobody say we hid anything." Musa unzipped the bag. He removed Ese's handkerchief. Then the vouchers appeared, 47 of them. Their blue edges caught the light. The crowd gasped. Ese stopped breathing. For one frozen moment, every sound in the yard disappeared. The generator hum, the truck engines, the voices. Even the rainwater dripping from the canopy seemed to hold itself in the air. Ese looked at the papers, then at Musa, then at Ronka. No, Musa pulled the vouchers out and spread them on the table. Ronka folded her arms. "Still no? I have never seen those papers before, of course. You put them there." A murmur moved through the vendors. Ronke laughed. "Listen to this roadside cook. She enters a corporate center with stolen charity vouchers, and now she is accusing a chief operating officer." Ese reached towards the vouchers. Musa caught both her wrists. "Do not touch evidence." "Evidence," Ese cried. "You are the one who brought me inside." Ronke stepped closer. "Hold her hands. A thief must not escape." Musa twisted Ese's arms behind her. The vouchers slipped from the table and scattered across the polished section of the floor. The crowd gasped again. Ese stared at them as if they were snakes. "I have never seen those papers before." Ronke's ruby-red heel struck Ese's orange lunchbox, which had been placed beside the canvas bag. The lid opened. The remaining grains of jollof rice inside slid onto the floor. Ronke stepped on them. "Look at you," she said. "You came here smelling of smoke and poverty, then decided to steal food meant for hungry people." Laughter broke from two vendors standing near the media light. Nervous laughter. Cruel because it was afraid not to be. Ese's face burned. Chief Bode pushed through the crowd. "She gave me that food," he said. "It was her last meal." Ronka turned on him. "And who asked the beggar to speak?" "I was here. She never touched those vouchers." Ronka pointed at him. "This is the person she brought into our assessment area. Perhaps they planned it together." Ese's head snapped towards her. "Do not lie against him." A guard moved to push Chief Bode back. "Old man, leave this place." Chief Bode planted his cane. "I am giving a witness statement. You are giving disturbance." The guard shoved him. Chief Bode stumbled. Ese tore one arm free from Musa and threw herself between them. "Do not touch him." Her shoulder struck the guard's chest. The crowd drew back. Ronka pointed at Ese as if she had just proven everything. "You see? Violent. Criminal. No respect. I said do not push an elderly man. He is not your father. Must he be my father before he deserves respect?" Ronka's face hardened. "To people like you, every dirty stranger is family because poverty has no boundary." Ese stared at her. The insult cut deep, but her voice came out steady. "You are standing under a sign that says dignity." Ronke glanced at the branded backdrop. Then she looked at the cameras. "Remove her." Musa tightened his grip again. Chief Bode's voice changed. "Release her." It was no longer the voice of a tired old man. It was low, controlled, used to being obeyed. Several people turned. Ronke did not understand what she heard. "You have no authority here," she said. Chief Bode looked at her for a long second. "Is that so?" "Yes. If you are hungry, go to the public collection shed. If your voucher failed, Take it up with the system. Do not attach yourself to this woman and disturb our event. The system tore my voucher. Then perhaps it was fake. It carried a valid serial number. Ronke's eyes moved to him sharply. How would you know? Because I read it before your employee damaged it. Ronke looked at Musa. That old man was asking the wrong questions. Too many wrong questions. She turned back to the crowd. This matter is simple. The applicant can sign an admission, return the vouchers, and leave quietly. We may choose not to involve law enforcement. Ese laughed in disbelief. Admission? Ronke's assistant produced a printed document from the folder. It had been prepared before the search. Chief Bode noticed. So did Ese. The paper stated that Ese had taken program vouchers due to financial hardship and accepted permanent disqualification from all Okafor Foods vendor opportunities. It also stated that she would not make public statements about the incident. Ronke placed a pen on top. Sign. Ese's hands were released, but the guards stood close. She picked up the paper. Her eyes moved line by line. Ronke became impatient. What are you reading? The words will not change because you are looking at them. Ese kept reading. There was no list of voucher serial numbers, no time of search, no name of the person who reported them missing, no record of who handled the bag, no mention that the bag had been left in a room controlled by company staff. Ese raised her head. Who wrote this? That is not your concern. It says I took vouchers because of financial hardship. Who heard me say that? Ronke tapped the paper. Sign and go home. Where are the serial numbers? Do not waste our time. Who searched the bag first? Who sealed it? Who witnessed the chain of custody? Some members of the crowd stopped recording and began listening properly. Ronke's jaw tightened. You are not a lawyer. No, but I can read. Chief Bode almost smiled. Ese held the paper up. This document is not a report. It is a confession you prepared before you searched my bag. Silence fell. Ronke's eyes flicked towards her assistant. A mistake. Small, but visible. Ese saw it. You had this paper ready, she said. You already decided what you wanted me to confess. Enough. Ronke snatched the document from her. Ese stepped back. I will not sign. If we call the police, you may spend the night in a cell. Call them. You will lose more than this contract. My name is already on the floor under your shoe. What else are you threatening me with? Ronke leaned closer. Do you know how many companies call me before approving a food vendor? I can close every door you have not even reached. Ese felt fear move through her body. Real fear. Not dramatic fear. Not the kind that disappears after one brave sentence. She saw unpaid rent, empty gas, customers turning away, her name moving from phone to phone with the word thief attached to it. Still, she shook her head. I will not confess to what I did not do, Ronke straightened. Then you have chosen the hard way. She ordered the guards to escort Ese out and confiscate the vouchers as evidence. Ese demanded a written incident report. Ronke refused. Ese asked for the names of every person who handled her bag. Musa laughed. You think this is court? No, Ese said. In court, you may have to answer. Musa's grip became rougher. Chief Bode moved beside Ese. I am leaving with her. Ronke gave him a cold look. Both of you should go. You have turned this place into a village square. Deal had already seen enough. From outside the main yard, he recorded the black truck leaving. He photographed its number plate. He noted the time, 11:52 a.m. He sent one message to the company lawyer. Preserve all CCTV and access logs for Ojota Center from 8 a.m. today. Founder inspection. Possible interference with evidence. The lawyer replied, within 3 minutes. Acknowledged. Preservation notice being issued to audit server and external backup provider. Deal moved closer to the gate as the guards pushed Ease and Chief Bode out. Ease's insulated boxes were placed on the wet pavement beside her. One lid had opened. 2 sample packs had fallen and split. A guard threw her canvas bag on top. "Carry your things and disappear." Ease bent to pick up the food. Her hands shook now. She had held herself together, under the cameras, under Ronke's insults, under Musa's grip. Outside the gate, there was no audience to fight. The tears came. Quietly at first. Then with the full weight of everything she had spent. She crouched beside the scattered packs, trying to rescue food from rainwater. The cream labels peeled away from the boxes. Red oil ran across the pavement like a wound. Chief Bode stood over her. "My daughter." Ease wiped her face with the back of her hand. "Please, Baba. Go. They may come outside again. I will not leave you here. You do not know me. You fed me. That does not make you responsible for my life. No, but what I witnessed makes me responsible for the truth." Ease looked at him. He reached into his caftan and removed the torn dispatch label. The paper showed the 1-plate forward code, Age Zone 4, 312 household packs, and a commercial customer reference beneath it. Ease stared. "You picked that from the ground?" "Yes. They saw you." "Yes, that is why they turned on me. Partly." "Who are you?" Chief Bode folded the label again. "Today, I am a man whose food voucher was rejected." E's expression changed. "That is not an answer. It is the answer I can give you now." She stood slowly. "You sound like them." "Like who?" "People who know more than they are saying and expect poor people to trust them." The words struck him. He could not deny them. Before he could respond, Dealey approached, holding an umbrella. He stopped at a respectful distance. "Chief, we should go." E's eyes moved from Dealey to the old man. "Chief?" Dealey answered quickly. "Chief is a common title." Ease looked at both of them. Dale's shoes were polished. The umbrella was high quality. A dark vehicle waited down the road. Something did not fit. Chief Bode spoke before she could ask more. "Give me your phone number." Ease laughed bitterly. "So you can call and tell me to forgive them. So I can make sure you receive a copy of whatever record exists from today." "Can you do that?" "I can try." She studied him. Then she shook her head. "No, I do not know you." Chief Bode accepted the refusal. Fair. Ease gathered her boxes. Deal moved to help. She pulled them away. "I can carry my things." "My sister, it is not an insult to accept help. Today, everybody has been helping me into trouble." Dealey lowered his hands. Ease balanced the boxes and walked towards the bus stop. Chief Bode watched her go. When she disappeared into the crowd, he entered the vehicle with Dealey. The moment the door closed, Deal turned to him. "You should have told her." "Told her what?" "That the company carrying my name framed her while I stood there gathering evidence." "You could have stopped them, yes." Chief Ford's answer was quiet. Deal waited. The old man looked through the window at the road where Ease had walked away. "If I revealed myself inside that yard, Ronke would apologize, blame Musa, and burn the rest before sunset. We would save one woman and lose the truth about thousands of meals. And if that one woman cannot survive until your truth is ready." Chief Bode closed his eyes. That question followed him all the way to Ikeja. Ease reached Agi after 2 p.m. The bus conductor charged extra for the food boxes. One passenger recognized her from a short video already circulating on WhatsApp. The clip began after the vouchers were found. It did not show Musa leading her into the waiting room. It did not show Ronke's prepared confession. It showed only Ease shouting, Chief Bode speaking, and the guards restraining her. The caption read food. Vendetta. Caught stealing charity vouchers at Okafor Foods. The passenger watched the clip twice, then looked at Ease. She turned her face towards the window. By 3:17 p.m., 3 customers had cancelled weekend orders. At 4:02, the owner of the rented kitchen space called. I heard there is problem. There is no problem with my food. They said you stole from a charity program. They planted vouchers in my bag. The owner went silent. Ease, I do not want police coming here. No police has called me. Still, until this thing clears, do not cook from the shared kitchen. That kitchen fee is paid until month end. I will refund balance when I can. When you can. The call ended. At 5:26, E's landlord knocked on her door. He did not enter. He stood in the corridor and spoke loudly enough for neighbors to hear. I do not keep criminals in my house. I am not a criminal. Then solve your matter quickly. I have 7 days before rent balance is due. I am only advising you. Police should not seal my property. No police is looking for me. Today, no police. Tomorrow, who knows? He left. Ease closed the door and leaned against it. The room still smelled of jollof rice. On the table sat 3 damaged sample packs she had managed to save. She opened one. The rice was cold. Oil had soaked through the paper. She lifted a spoon, but her throat closed. That was the first moment she regretted giving away her lunch. Not because the old man did not deserve it. Because hunger made humiliation heavier. She sat on the floor beside the stainless steel table and cried until the light outside faded. Across Lagos, Ronke was doing damage control. She instructed the media assistant to circulate only the edited video. She told the registration employee to enter suspected theft and violent misconduct into Ease's vendor profile. She emailed 3 partner organizations warning them not to engage Ease pending investigation. Then she called Seyi Daniels. Seyi was the internal auditor responsible for program controls. He was 34, careful and known for wearing grey suits, even on days when the Lagos heat punished anybody who tried to look formal. He entered Ronke's office at 6:11 p.m. She did not ask him to sit. There was a theft incident at Ojota, she said. I saw the alert. You will close the voucher discrepancy under external fraud, Seyi frowned. Which discrepancy? Duplicate cereals. He became still. How many? Do not behave as if this is new to you. It is not new. That is the problem. Ronke's eyes sharpened. Seyi had flagged repeated cereals 2 months earlier. His report was returned with a note saying the issue came from scanner synchronization errors. He was told to close it after operations provided a reconciliation sheet. The sheet had never satisfied him. Ronke opened a folder on her desk. 47 vouchers were recovered from a failed vendor applicant. She has likely been collecting used cereals and reproducing them. Recovered by whom? Security. Was Seags? This is not a court case. Then why are you asking audit to classify fraud? Ronke leaned back. Seyi, do not squeeze your face for me. I need the entries corrected before tomorrow's executive report. What entries? Move the disputed redemptions to attempted external abuse. Reverse the community distribution variance. Change the Ajig shipment date to Tuesday. Seyi looked at her. The Ajig shipment left today. Ronke's voice softened. That is why I said, change the date. He understood. Not everything, but enough. Why? He asked. Ronke smiled without warmth. You are an auditor. Ask fewer operational questions. My work is questions. Your salary is obedience. Seji's jaw tightened. Ronke pushed the folder towards him. You have until 9:00 a.m. He did not touch it. What if I refuse? Ronke's expression became bored. Your performance review is next month. Your mortgage letter is still awaiting company confirmation. Your younger brother's supplier application is on my desk. Seyi stared at her. She had arranged the threats neatly. One for his job, one for his home, one for his family. Take the file, Ronke said. Seyi took it. He left her office with his back straight and his stomach burning. At 8:34 p.m., he opened the voucher database from his desk. He searched the 47 serial numbers recovered from Easy's bag. Everyone had a history. Some had been redeemed twice, some 3 times. 11 had been redeemed in separate districts within hours of one another. The earliest duplicate dated back 6 weeks. Easy's vendor profile had been created only 9 days earlier. She could not have caused the original pattern. Sei stared at the screen. He opened the warehouse movement log. The Ajax Zone 4 shipment listed 312 household packs as distributed through a community partner at 8 a.m. Tuesday. But the gate scan showed the truck leaving Ojota at 11:52 a.m. Thursday. The vehicle registration belonged to a commercial catering company that supplied private events. Sei felt cold despite the air conditioning. He copied the query results into a protected audit folder only he could access. Then he wrote a note to himself with the time, source system, and exact search terms used. He did not send anything yet. Fear still had one hand around his throat. At 9:07 p.m., Ronke called Musa. "Did you delete the waiting room footage?" "Yes, Ma. Local system has been cleared. Gate footage. Adjusted. Good." Musa hesitated. "What about the old man?" Ronke tapped one finger on her desk. "Did you identify him?" "No. He entered without registration. But a man picked him up in a dark SUV. Plate number? Partially blocked." Ronke stood and walked to the window. "Find it." "Yes, Ma. And make sure the woman's name enters the shared vendor warning list tonight." Musa exhaled. "Ma, she may go to police." "With what proof?" The crowd saw vouchers inside her bag. Ronke ended the call. She believed the matter was finished. At 10:14 p.m., Chief Bode sat in his study at home, the torn dispatch label beneath a reading lamp. Deal had printed photographs of the black truck, the blue crates, and the gate time. The company lawyer had confirmed that a preservation notice was active. Nobody at operations had been informed of the external backup request. Chief Bode called Tayo. His son answered on the 4th ring. "Papa, hope no problem. There is problem." Tayo's voice became alert. "Are you feeling unwell?" "My body is not the problem." "Then what happened?" "How many meals did one plate forward deliver last quarter?" Tayo paused. "About 86,000. I can send the dashboard." "I did not ask how many boxes left warehouses. I asked how many meals reached people. The program reports beneficiary confirmations." "Who confirms?" "Our operations team and partner organizations." "Who receives complaints?" "Customer relations." "Who does customer relations report to?" Another pause. "Operations." Chief Bode leaned back. "So a complaint against operations returns to operations." "Papa, what is this about?" 11 vouchers were used in 3 locations. That may be a system error. That sentence is how theft learns to sleep comfortably. Tayo sighed. "Send me the serial numbers." "I will." "Where did you get them?" Chief Bode looked at the torn label. "From people your reports do not allow you to hear." "Papa, please do not go around company sites without telling me." "Why? Will the truth dress differently when the CEO is expected?" Tayo became quiet. Chief Bode continued. "Tomorrow, ask for every complaint received under one plate forward in the last 12 months. Not the summary. The original complaints. I will ask Ronke." "No." The word came hard. "Ask audit and legal independently." Tayo heard something in his father's voice he had not heard in years, not anger, disappointment. "Papa, what did you see?" Chief Bode closed his eyes. "A woman lost everything today because she fed me." Tayo sat forward wherever he was. "What woman?" But Chief Bode ended the call. He was not ready to tell his son the full story. Not yet. At 11:41 p.m., Ease's phone vibrated beside her mattress. A message from an unknown number appeared. I have the full list of voucher serials from today. Do not delete your photographs. Keep every receipt. Do not sign anything from Okafor Foods. Ese sat up. She read it twice, then typed, "Who is this?" No response came. She called the number. It was switched off. Ese looked towards her stainless steel table, where her market receipts lay beneath a bowl. Keep every receipt. She stood. One by one, she gathered them. The rice receipt, the vegetable receipt, the packaging receipt, the transport transfer confirmation. She opened the photographs from the assessment. The first showed her 27 spat arranged under the canopy at 9:08 a.m. The second showed the temperature reading. The third showed the labels. In the background of the third photograph, the black truck was being loaded. Ese zoomed in. A blue crate stood open. The dispatch label was visible but blurred. She moved to the next image. There, a corner of paper in Musa's hand. Blue-edged vouchers. The timestamp read 10:54 a.m. That was before she entered the waiting room. Ese's breathing changed. She enlarged the image until the pixels broke apart. The serial number on the top voucher was not fully clear, but the last 6 digits could be read. 492731. She remembered that number. 6 weeks earlier, a food seller from Agag had sent her a picture of a rejected one-plate forward voucher, asking whether Ese knew where it could be used. The woman said the scanner claimed it had already been redeemed. Ese had not known the answer, but she had not deleted the message. She searched her chat history. The photograph appeared. Serial ending 492731. The same number. Ese sat very still. The vouchers found in her bag had existed before she entered Okafor Foods, and now she had a thread connecting them. It was small, not enough to clear her name. But it was not nothing. For the first time since leaving Ojota, Ese felt something other than shame. She felt anger becoming direction. At 12:03 a.m., she opened a notebook and wrote one sentence across the top of a blank page. I will not disappear. By 7:15 the next morning, Ese had turned her small room into an evidence table. Receipts lay in one row, photographs in another. She wrote times beside each event while memory was still fresh. She listed the names she knew: Ronke Balogun, Musa Bello, Seyi Daniels, whose name appeared on the audit section of the vendor pack. She described the registration employee without guessing her name. She wrote the words on the confession document as accurately as she could remember them. At the bottom of the page, she added something that made her hand pause. Old man in brown kaftan. Voucher rejected. Witnessed the search. Collected by man called Dile. Address unknown. She looked at that line for a long time. Chief. Deal had called him chief. The man spoke like somebody who had spent years giving instructions. His slippers were old, but his grammar was careful. He knew what a valid serial number meant. He had picked up the dispatch label before anybody else noticed it. Ese did not know whether to trust him, so she wrote only what she could prove. At 8:02 a.m., she sent herself copies of every image and receipt by email. She also uploaded them to a cloud folder and shared the access link with a second email account. It was a simple step, but it mattered. Phones could break, messages could disappear. Fear could make a person delay until evidence was lost. At 8:37, she left for a community legal support center near the local government office. The waiting room was already full. A man argued about unpaid wages. A woman held a folder containing rent notices. 2 traders discussed a market levy dispute. Ese took a number and sat with her canvas bag on her lap. When her turn came, a legal officer listened without interrupting. Ese expected sympathy. Instead, the officer asked precise questions. Did you consent to the search? No. Did they call police? No. Did they issue an inventory of what was taken? No. Did anybody else handle your bag while it was outside your control? Yes. Security kept me in a waiting room. They sent me to make a photocopy. My bag remained there. Do you know whether cameras were present? There was one above the water dispenser. The officer stopped writing. That is important. They may delete it. They may. But deletion after a dispute can also matter, especially if a preservation request is made quickly. Ease leaned forward. What should I do? First, do not contact the accused staff emotionally. Do not threaten them. Do not post every detail online. Second, send a formal written demand for the incident report, the voucher inventory, the relevant CCTV, and the basis for your blacklist. Third, preserve your own records. Fourth, if they offer money, do not sign anything without reading it and obtaining advice. Ease gave a bitter smile. They already offered me a confession. Good that you refused. I was afraid. Being afraid does not make your refusal smaller. The officer helped her prepare a 2-page letter. It did not accuse anybody of crimes as if guilt had already been proven. It stated facts. It requested records. It disputed the allegation. It warned that the video circulating online was incomplete and damaging. Ease signed it at 10:46 a.m. The center sent copies by email and courier to Okafor Foods, its legal department, and the independent chair of the audit committee, listed in the company's public filings. When Ease left, she felt no miracle. Her rent was still due. Her customers had still cancelled. Her name was still moving through WhatsApp groups. But she had done one thing the people who framed her did not expect. She had created a record. At Okafor Foods headquarters, Tayo Okafor entered his office at 7:30 a.m. Wearing a cobalt blue suit and a face that made his assistant cancel casual conversation. He had not slept well. His father's words kept returning. A woman lost everything today because she fed me. Tayo opened the one-plate forward dashboard. Green charts filled the screen. Delivery completion, 98.7%. Beneficiary satisfaction, 94%. Complaint resolution, 96.2%. Beautiful numbers, too beautiful. He called customer relations. I want the original complaints received under one plate forward for the last 12 months. The manager hesitated. Sir, the quarterly summary is available. I did not ask for summary. The raw complaints are managed through operations. Why? Because operations resolves them. Send me the raw files. Sir, I will need Madame Ronque's approval for access. Tayo leaned back slowly. You need the Chief Operating Officer's approval to send the Chief Executive complaints about the Chief Operating Officer's program. The manager went silent. Send me the access policy, Tayo said. Not the complaints. The policy first. He ended the call and contacted legal, then audit. He asked both departments the same questions separately. By 9:20 a.m., he knew 3 disturbing things. First, original complaints were archived after 30 days and only summaries remained visible to executives. Second, the summaries were prepared by operations. Third, audit had raised a duplicate voucher concern 2 months earlier, but the issue was marked resolved based on an operations reconciliation. Tayo called Ronque. She arrived at 9:41 a.m., wearing a green suit, not the ruby dress from the previous day. Her expression was composed. Hope no problem, Tayo. He did not invite her to sit. What happened at Ojota yesterday? A vendor applicant was caught with stolen charity vouchers. Name? Ese Adebayo. Tayo's eyes changed slightly. That was the woman. What proof? 47 vouchers were found in her bag. There are videos. Full video? Ronque folded her hands. Security footage was corrupted during an equipment reset. Convenient. Her head tilted. Are you accusing me? I am asking. She became aggressive. She brought a homeless man into the assessment area, disrupted operations, and attacked security. My father was at Ojota yesterday. The sentence fell quietly. Ronke's face did not collapse. She was too disciplined for that, but color left it. Your father? Yes, at the center? He said a woman fed him. Ronke's mind moved quickly. The old man, the brown kaftan, the authority in his voice, the SUV. She forced a small laugh. Tayo, your father should not move around alone in his condition. People can take advantage of elderly men. Tayo stared at her. What people? The woman may have recognized him. How? Ronke paused. She could have searched online. He was dressed plainly. Most of your staff did not recognize him. Yet you believe a food vendor from Ajaj recognized him instantly and organized 47 stolen vouchers around his visit. Ronke's smile disappeared. I am saying we should not let emotion cloud evidence. Good. Then provide all evidence. The local footage is damaged. Audit has a remote backup. This time, Ronke could not hide the shock. Tayo watched it. Did you know? He asked. Know what? That the backup had been preserved. I assumed standard systems were operating. Legal says a founder inspection notice triggered preservation at 11:55 yesterday. Ronke's mind returned to the old man picking up the label. Founder inspection. Chief Bode. She had called him a beggar. She had ordered a guard to push him. Worse, he had seen the truck. Ronke drew a careful breath. Tayo, there may have been confusion. I was managing a public event. Your father did not identify himself. My father does not need to identify himself before staff treat him like a human being. The words came sharper than Tayo intended. Ronke's eyes narrowed. He continued. Send all voucher records, warehouse movements, vendor blacklists, and communications about Ese Adebayo to audit. No deletion. No editing. No contact with her, except through legal. Tayo, this is an overreaction. It is an instruction. Ronke looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Of course. She left his office and went directly to hers. The moment the door closed, she called Musa. The old man was Chief Bode Okafor. Silence. Musa's breath became audible. Ma, I did not know. Neither did I. What do we do? Nothing foolish. Do not contact the woman. Do not destroy anything else. But the footage, local footage, is already gone. Remote backup. Ronke closed her eyes. Preserved. Musa swore under his breath. Ronke's voice became deadly calm. Listen to me. If this breaks, the vouchers were planted by you without my knowledge. Musa went silent. You told me to do it. Did I send a written instruction? No. But then remember who approved your promotion, your housing allowance, and your private security contracts. Musa's fear turned into anger. Ma, do not put everything on my head. Then keep your head useful. She ended the call. Musa stared at his phone. For 6 years, he had believed loyalty to Ronke would protect him. Now he understood the arrangement. He was not protected. He was stored, like evidence waiting to be used. That afternoon, Seyi received an automated notice from the audit committee chair. A protected review had been opened. All relevant records were under hold. Any alteration after 11:55 a.m. the previous day would be logged separately. Seyi looked at the folder Ronke had given him. He had not changed the records. He had only opened them. At 1:12 p.m., he completed a formal protected disclosure. He listed the duplicate vouchers, the requests to alter shipment dates, the threat tied to his mortgage letter, and the vendor blacklist pattern. He attached screenshots, query logs, and notes showing when he obtained each item. Before submitting, his hand hovered over the button. He thought of his salary, his mortgage, his younger brother's application. Then he thought of Ese standing in the video while people laughed. He clicked submit. No thunder sounded. No hero music played. The office printer continued humming. A colleague walked past carrying coffee. Courage often looked disappointingly ordinary from the outside. Inside Sei, something had changed. Ese spent the next 3 days trying to work. She could no longer use the shared kitchen, so she cooked only small orders in her room. 2 regular customers stayed with her. 7 others paused. One woman called and said she believed Ese, but did not want her church group involved in controversy. "I understand," Ese said. She did not understand. On the 4th day, a courier arrived with a letter from Okafor Foods' legal department acknowledging her complaint. It promised an internal review and asked her not to discuss the matter publicly. There was no apology, no reinstatement, no removal of the video. That evening, an unknown man came to her building. He wore a pale shirt and carried a brown envelope. "I am here from a community partner," he said. "Which partner?" He named an organization Ese had seen on the One Plate Forward banner. "What do you want?" "To resolve misunderstanding." He opened the envelope. Inside was a check for 300,000 naira and a 4-page agreement. Easy's heart jumped at the amount. 300,000, more than her rent debt. Enough to replace the damaged phone screen, enough to buy a freezer and pay deposit on a proper kitchen. The man watched her face. "You sign. You say the incident was misunderstanding. You remove any complaints. Everybody moves on." Ese took the agreement but not the check. She read. The document required confidentiality, withdrawal of all claims, and a statement thanking Okafor Foods for supporting her through a difficult time. It did not clear her name. It did not say the vouchers were planted. It described the payment as a resilience grant. Ese looked up. "Who sent you?" "The partner organization." "Did Ronka Balagan send you?" The man's eyes shifted. "Madame, do not complicate blessing. This is not blessing. 300,000 naira is not blessing to you. It is money, same thing." No. Ese handed back the agreement. He frowned. "Think well. Your reputation is already damaged. Even if you fight, who will believe food seller against company?" Ese's chest tightened. He had named the truth she feared. But he had also revealed the weakness in their position. If they were certain she had stolen, they would not pay for silence. She pushed the check towards him. "Tell whoever sent you that I want 4 things." The man stared. "You are giving conditions?" "Yes. Clear my name in writing. Restore my right to compete. Review every vendor blacklisted by the same office. Investigate where those vouchers came from." He laughed. "Madam, do you know your level?" Ese opened the door wider. "Yes. My level is the floor where they tried to put my name. I am climbing from there." The man's smile vanished. "You will regret this. Please leave." He left with the check. Ese closed the door and leaned against it. Her knees were weak. Rejecting money sounded brave after the money was gone. While it sat in front of her, bravery felt like madness. That night, she ate plain gari with ground pepper and wondered whether dignity could pay rent. At 9:18 p.m., her phone rang. It was the old man, "My daughter." Ese sat up. "How did you get my number?" "From the complaint letter you sent to the audit committee." "Who are you?" There was a pause. "A man who owes you truth." "That answer is still not enough." "You are right. Then tell me." "Meet me tomorrow at the community clinic near Penn Cinema. Public place. 10 in the morning. Bring nobody if you prefer. Or bring your legal officer." Ese's suspicion rose. "Why clinic?" "I have a review appointment." "You said you were fine." Old men say many foolish things when young women are trying to help them. Despite herself, Ese almost smiled. Then she remembered the vouchers. "What do you know about the truck?" "Enough to say your question was correct. Did you send the message about keeping receipts?" "No." Ese frowned. "Then somebody else knows." "Yes, are they safe?" "I do not know." The honesty unsettled her more than a confident lie would have. "I will come," she said. The next morning, Ese arrived at the clinic at 9:52. She had informed the legal support center of the meeting and shared her location. She sat near the front desk where staff and patients could see her. Chief Bode arrived with Dealey at 10:07. He wore the same brown caftan, freshly pressed. His cane tapped lightly against the tiled floor. Ese did not stand. Chief Bode sat opposite her. "You did well to tell somebody where you were coming," he said. "How do you know I did?" "Because you are learning not to trust hidden arrangements." She studied him. "Start with your name." "Bode Okafor." Ese waited. Then the surname reached her. Her face changed. "Okafor?" "Yes." "As in Okafor Foods?" "I founded it." Ese stared at him. The clinic sounds seemed to move farther away. A nurse called a patient's number. A baby cried from another corridor. Somebody dragged a metal chair across the floor. Ese heard all of it, yet none of it felt near. "You are the CEO." "No, my son is the CEO." Ese stood. Chief Bode looked up at her. "My daughter, do not call me that." Her voice was low, but anger sharpened every word. "You stood there while they held me. You watched them destroy my name. You could have spoken one sentence and stopped it." People nearby turned to look. Chief Bode did not ask her to lower her voice. "Yes," he said, "I could have revealed myself. But you did not." "No." "Because you were testing me?" "No." "Then what?" "I was investigating stolen food and duplicated vouchers. If I revealed myself, Ronke would have sacrificed Musa, apologized and erased the larger scheme. So you sacrificed me instead." The sentence landed heavily. Deal looked down. Chief Bode accepted it. "For a time, yes." Ese laughed once in disbelief. "Rich people always have beautiful reason for why somebody poorer must suffer small. You are right to be angry. I do not need permission. No." She picked up her bag. Chief Bode spoke quickly. "A preservation order was sent before you left the center. The remote CCTV is safe. Audit has opened a protected review. Your complaint is now part of the formal record." Ese stopped, he continued. "I did not leave you with nothing. But I should have found a way to protect you sooner without exposing the investigation. I failed in that." Ese turned back. There was no excuse in his voice, no demand that she understand. That mattered. Not enough, but it mattered. She sat again, keeping the bag on her shoulder. Chief Bode placed a copy of the torn dispatch label on the table. The Ajeji supplies were diverted to commercial catering. The voucher duplicates go back at least 6 weeks. An auditor inside the company has provided records through a protected channel. The unknown message, likely him, though he has not admitted contacting you directly. What happens now? The audit committee is reviewing. Legal is preserving records. My son knows enough to be suspicious, not enough to understand the full scale. Ese's eyes narrowed. Why not tell him everything? Because leadership must be tested by what it does when the truth is inconvenient. Not only when a father gives an order. Ese shook her head. "You people and tests." Chief Bode gave a tired sigh. "You are right again. Let me say it plainly. I want to know whether Tayo built a company capable of correcting itself. If he did not, I need proof strong enough to force structural change, not a family quarrel." Ese looked at the label. "Will my name be cleared?" "Yes. When?" "I cannot promise a date until the evidence is reviewed." "Then do not promise yes." Chief Bode fell silent. Ese leaned forward. "This is what people like you do not understand. Your investigation has time. My rent has date. Your committee has procedure. My customers have already left. Every day your company stays quiet. The lie becomes more true in people's minds." Chief Bode's face tightened. "What do you need immediately?" She sat back. "I do not want secret money. I did not offer it. You were about to." He almost denied it. then smiled faintly. Yes. I want the video removed or marked under investigation. I want written confirmation that no criminal complaint has been filed against me. I want access to the full inventory of vouchers they claim came from my bag. And I want the vendor blacklist frozen until the review is complete. Chief Bode looked at Delay. Delay nodded and wrote the points down. Ayres added, not only my name. Freeze all recent blacklists from that office. Why? Chief Bode asked. Because if they could do this to me in front of cameras, what did they do to people nobody recorded? The old man looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, that is the same question I have been asking. Ese shook her head. No. You asked after it touched you. I am asking because it touched many people before me. Chief Bode accepted the correction. He took out a copy of the one-plate forward program summary. What is wrong with this system? Ese almost laughed. You want free consultancy from the woman your company called a thief. I want the view of somebody the reports erased. She studied him, then pulled the paper closer. You count boxes, she said. You do not confirm meals. She tapped the satisfaction score. Who answers this survey? Partner organizations, not the people eating. No. You let operations investigate complaints against operations. Yes. You force poor people to stand in a separate queue under a charity sign where everybody can photograph them. Chief Bode looked at her. You noticed that. I noticed because shame has eyes. She pointed to another section. Small vendors are told the application is free, but people collect unofficial processing money. Those who refuse disappear from the list. Do you have proof? Not yet. I have stories. Stories can begin an investigation. They did not begin one before. He nodded slowly. Ese continued. And when a voucher fails, staff treat the person like a liar. The system makes the mistake, but the hungry person carries the shame. Chief Bode looked down at his torn voucher. That sentence entered him deeply. The system makes the mistake, but the hungry person carries the shame. He had built a company to move food. Somewhere along the way, it had learned how to move shame instead. Before they separated, Chief Bode asked one question. Do you regret feeding me? Ese looked towards the clinic corridor. I regret that your company made me feel kindness was evidence against me. That is not what I asked. She met his eyes. No, I do not regret giving you food. Why? Because you were hungry. Everything after that belongs to the people who chose wickedness. Chief Bode lowered his head. That answer stayed with him. 3 days later, Okafor Foods froze all vendor blacklists issued by operations in the previous 9 months. The edited video was removed from official partner pages. A legal notice stated that no criminal complaint had been filed against Ese, and that the incident was under independent review. It did not repair her reputation fully, but it created doubt around the lie. Some customers returned, not all. Ese took small orders from home and borrowed access to a church kitchen during off hours. She kept every temperature log, every receipt, every delivery confirmation. Meanwhile, Sei's audit review widened. The remote CCTV showed Musa entering the waiting room while Ese was at the copier. It showed him opening her bag. It showed the brown envelope. It showed the vouchers disappearing inside. The image was clear. The warehouse data was worse. 1,437 charity cartons had been marked as distributed through 5 community partners. Gate records showed them leaving in commercial vehicles. Invoices from private clients matched the same quantities and dates. The value of diverted food, false service fees, and duplicated voucher reimbursements reached 28,743,500 naira. Sei traced 63 vendor blacklists. 41 Followed complaints about unofficial fees or refusal to make payments. 22 involved real sanitation, delivery, or documentation failures. That distinction mattered. Truth was not served by declaring every poor person innocent because some had been abused. Fairness required evidence in both directions. Ronke saw the investigation closing around her. She made one final plan. Okafor Foods' annual one-plate forward gala was scheduled for the following Friday at a hotel in Victoria Island. 311 guests had confirmed. Investors, journalists, community partners, government representatives, and vendors would attend. Ronke controlled the program. She proposed a new segment called Community Resilience Recognition. She would invite Ese onto the stage, present a 300,000 naira grant, and describe the incident as a misunderstanding caused by pressure and poor communication. A prepared statement would thank Okafor Foods for compassion. If Ese accepted publicly, the story would change. The company would become generous. Ese would become grateful. The planted vouchers would become an uncomfortable detail buried beneath applause. Ronke sent the invitation through the legal department, disguising her hand. Ese read it twice. The invitation promised an opportunity to share her journey and receive support for rebuilding her food business. She called Chief Bode. "They want to put me on stage." "I know. Did you arrange it?" "No. Should I go?" Chief Bode was quiet. "The audit committee will be there." "That is not an answer." "No, it is information." Ese sighed. "You enjoy difficult answer too much." "I am 72. At my age, simple answers have already disappointed me." Ese looked at the invitation. "What will happen if I refuse?" "Ronke may say you rejected reconciliation." "And if I attend?" "She may try to control the story. Will you be there?" "Yes, as Chief Bode Okafor." He paused. "I will arrive as the man she insulted." Ese understood. The truth would not enter the gala wearing a suit. It would enter in the same brown kaftan they had treated like dirt. She accepted the invitation. On the morning of the gala, Ronke received a notice that the remote backup, voucher database, and warehouse logs had been formally sealed by the audit committee. She read the email once. Then again. Her fingers became cold. She called Sei into her office. He entered wearing his usual grey suit and a mint-colored tie. "You made a protected disclosure," Ronke said. Sei did not answer. "That is confidential," he said. She laughed. "Do not hide behind policy. I know your writing style." Sei looked at her calmly. "You asked me to change shipment dates. I asked you to correct errors. You threatened my mortgage letter. I reminded you that performance has consequences. You used my family's application to pressure me." Ronke stood. "Do you think the company will protect you when investors begin asking why audit failed to detect 28 million naira in irregularities?" Sei's stomach tightened, but his voice remained level. "Maybe not. You will fall with me. Then at least I will fall facing the truth." Ronke stared at him. For the first time, she saw that fear had stopped working. "Get out." Sei left. Ronke stood alone in her office, looking at the city through the glass wall. Her plan for the gala was no longer about controlling Ese. It was about surviving the night. At 5:42 p.m., the hotel ballroom began filling with guests. At 6:11, Tayo arrived in a cobalt blue suit. At 6:27, Sei entered with a sealed audit folder. At 6:39, Ese stepped through the doors wearing her burnt orange blouse, light turquoise wrapper, and cream shawl. People turned. Some recognized her from the video. Whispers followed her across the room. Ese heard them. She kept walking. On the stage, Ronke watched her approach. The chief operating officer wore ruby red. The color looked like warning. The ballroom glittered with the kind of beauty that could make people forget where money came from. Tall glass arrangements stood on every table. Gold light washed over white linen. A string quartet played near the entrance, while waiters moved between guests, carrying trays of small pastries. On two large screens beside the stage, photographs showed smiling, elderly people receiving food packs beneath the One Plate Forward logo. Every image looked clean. Every smile looked complete. Ese stopped before one of the screens. The photograph showed an elderly woman holding a bag of rice, while three company representatives stood around her. The woman's eyes were lowered. A branded banner had been positioned behind her. Ese wondered whether anybody had asked if she wanted her hunger placed inside an annual report. A hotel attendant approached. "Madam, your seat is near the stage." Ese followed. Her name card read Ese Adebayo, community entrepreneur, not vendor applicant, not woman accused of theft, community entrepreneur. A new label prepared before she had agreed to anything. She sat and placed her phone face down on the table. The legal support officer had advised her to record her own statement immediately after the event, not secretly record private conversations. Ese had also brought copies of her complaint, receipts, and photographs. They rested inside a plain folder beneath her chair. Across the room, Tayo watched her. He knew her face from the video, but seeing her in person disturbed him. She did not look like the threat described in Ronke's report. She looked tired, alert, alone among people who had arrived in groups. Tayo started towards her. Ronke intercepted him. "We need to review the program order," she said. "I have already reviewed it. The resilience segment requires sensitivity. Why is Ese receiving a grant before the audit is complete?" Ronke smiled for nearby guests. "Because public healing should not wait for paperwork. Public healing or public control." Her smile held. "Tayo, tonight is important for the company. Investors are watching. We can discuss operational details tomorrow. My father will attend." Ronke's eyes flickered. "In what capacity?" "As founder. Then he should be seated at the head table." "He refused. Where is he?" Tayo looked towards the ballroom doors. "I do not know." That answer unsettled her. At 7:03 p.m., the program began. Ronke welcomed the guests. Her voice was warm, polished, and measured. She spoke about hunger, partnership, and the company's commitment to human dignity. She praised volunteers. She thanked donors. She announced that the program had distributed more than 86,000 meals in the previous quarter. Applause filled the room. Ese did not clap, Tayo noticed. Sei sat 2 tables away from the stage, the sealed audit folder resting on his knees. Beside him sat 2 members of the audit committee and a legal representative. They had agreed that the findings would be presented privately to the board after the gala, unless Ronke made a misleading public claim requiring immediate correction. Ronke knew this. She also knew she controlled the microphone. At 7:31, after 2 speeches and a short documentary, she returned to the stage. "Tonight," she said, "we want to show that One Plate Forward is not only about food, it is about second chances." Easy's spine tightened. The screens changed. Her face appeared. The edited video began. It showed vouchers on the floor. It showed Ese pulling away from Musa. It showed her standing in front of Chief Bode. It did not show Musa entering the waiting room. It did not show the prepared confession. It did not show the guard pushing the old man first. A low murmur spread through the ballroom. Ronke continued. "Some weeks ago, a difficult incident occurred during our vendor assessment. Emotions were high, decisions were made under pressure. But we believe that people should not be permanently defined by their worst moment." Ese rose from her seat. Ronke gestured towards her with a gracious smile. "Please welcome Ese Adebayo, a hard-working food entrepreneur whom we have chosen to support with a resilience grant of 300,000 naira. Applause began uncertainly. Ese did not move towards the stage. Ronka's smile tightened. Ese, please join us. Ese picked up her folder and walked forward. Each step sounded too loud in her ears. When she reached the stage, a staff member handed Ronke an oversized check. The amount was printed in bold gold numbers. Cameras lifted. Ronke held out one side of the check. Ese did not take the other. Please, Ronke whispered through her smile, do not embarrass yourself again. Ese looked at the audience, then at the video frozen behind them. She moved towards the microphone. Ronke placed one hand over it. I will introduce you first. You already introduced a lie. The nearest tables heard. Ronke's smile vanished for half a second. Then she lifted the microphone. Ese is understandably emotional. She has been through a challenging period. Ese reached for the microphone. Ronke pulled it away. Please stand beside the check. I did not come to thank you for money. Murmurs rose again. Ronke lowered her voice. Take the grant. Read the statement. Leave with dignity. Ese stared at her. You did not leave me dignity at Ojota. Ronke's eyes hardened. Do not test me in front of these people. Ese turned to the audience and raised her voice without the microphone. I want the full video shown. The ballroom quieted. Ronke laughed lightly. There is no need to reopen pain. There is need to reopen evidence. Tayo stood. Ronke saw him. She spoke faster. As I said, this was a misunderstanding. Security found vouchers in her bag, but the company has chosen compassion rather than punishment. Ese's hands began to shake. Not from fear alone, from fury. You planted those vouchers. The words cut through the room. Cameras turned fully towards the stage. Ronke's face changed. That is a serious accusation. Do you have proof? Yes. Seyi rose from his seat. Ronke saw the sealed folder in his hand. Before he could move, she signaled the sound technician. The microphone died. The screens went black. Ronke turned towards hotel security. This woman is disrupting the event. Please escort her out. Ese did not step back. Tayo moved towards the stage. At that moment, a disturbance began near the ballroom entrance. A hotel guard stood in front of an old man wearing a faded brown kaftan and soft cream cap. Sir, your name is not on the guest list, the guard said. Chief Bode held his cane and looked past him into the ballroom. I was invited by the truth. The guard frowned. Please do not cause scene. Ronke saw him. For 1 second, terror crossed her face. Then survival took over. She pointed from the stage. That man again! He followed her here. Remove both of them. Ese turned. Chief Bode stood at the doorway in the same clothes he had worn when they called him a beggar. A guard reached for his arm. Ese stepped down from the stage. Do not touch him. Ronke's voice rose. Security! Why are you allowing street people into a private gala? Tayo stopped walking. He turned towards the entrance. The cobalt blue suit made him visible across the room. His face went completely still. The glass in the hand of an elderly board member slipped and struck the floor. It shattered. The sound was small. The silence after it was enormous. Tayo spoke. Papa? 311 guests seemed to breathe at once. Ronke's hand dropped from the microphone. The hotel guard released Chief Bode immediately. Sir, I did not know. Chief Bode looked at him. You asked for my name. That is procedure. You did not insult me. There is a difference. The guard stepped aside. Chief Bode entered the ballroom. Whispers chased him. Founder. Chief Bode Okafor, the CEO's father. The old man from the video. Ese stood at the foot of the stage, watching him approach. She knew who he was now, but the sight still carried force. He looked no richer than he had at Oyota. No gold watch, no security escort, no suit, only the same man. The room had changed. That was the accusation. Chief Bode reached the stage and climbed the steps slowly. Tayo moved to help him. The old man accepted his son's arm for balance, then released it when he stood before the audience. Ronka found her voice. "Chief, there has been a misunderstanding." He looked at her. "That word is working very hard tonight." A few people shifted in their seats. Ronka stepped closer. "If I had known it was you at the distribution center." Chief Bode lifted one hand. "That is the problem." She stopped. "If you had known I was the founder, you would have treated me with respect. Because you believed I was poor, you treated respect as waste." Ronka swallowed. "Chief, the environment was controlled. We had media partners. There were security concerns. I presented a valid food voucher. The scanner indicated that somebody had already used my number." He turned towards the audience. "I did not go to Ojota to beg. I went because 11 voucher cereals had been redeemed in 3 places. I joined the collection line. Staff tore my voucher and told me to leave. My medicine had been taken without food. I became weak." He pointed to Eze. "That woman gave me the only meal she had kept for herself." The audience turned towards her. Eze stood still. Chief Bode continued. "She did not know my name. She did not know my family. She did not know I founded the company whose logo stood behind her. She saw an old man shaking, and she gave him food." Ronki moved towards the microphone. "No one disputes her kindness, Chief. The concern was the vouchers found." Chief Bode turned sharply. "Do not use her kindness to decorate your lie." The words struck like a whip. Ronka froze. Chief Bode faced the room again. "After she fed me, she asked why community food was being loaded into a commercial truck. Shortly after, security placed 47 vouchers in her bag. Musa stood near the rear wall. Every face near him turned. He stepped backwards. Hotel security blocked the exit, not by force, but by position." Ronke shook her head. "That is not established." Seiyi raised the sealed folder. "It is established." Tayo looked at him. "Seiyi, bring the evidence." Ronke stepped between them. "This is not the proper setting for an audit presentation." Seiyi stopped at the foot of the stage. "You made it the setting when you showed an edited video and called the victim dishonest." The audit committee chair stood. "The findings may be presented to correct material misrepresentation already made tonight." Ronke looked around the room. The power had moved away from her. She could feel it. Seiyi connected a secured device to the presentation system. The screens came back on. The first video showed the waiting room. Timestamp, 11:29 a.m. Eze walked out with an employee to photocopy her identification. At 11:30, Musa entered through the side door. He opened Eze's bag. He removed vouchers from a brown envelope. He pushed them beneath her handkerchief and left one corner visible. The room erupted. Gasps, shouts, camera shutters. Musa's face collapsed. Ronka stared at the screen. "No," she whispered. "That footage was deleted." The microphone carried her words. Everyone heard. Seiyi turned towards her, delayed from the local monitor, not from the remote audit backup. Ronke realized what she had admitted. She stepped away from the microphone. Tayo looked at Musa. "Did you place those vouchers in her bag?" Musa's mouth opened. No sound came. Ronke spoke quickly. He acted alone. Musa turned towards her. The betrayal was now complete. "You told me to do it." Ronke's face twisted. "Be careful. You said she had seen too much. You said make sure she never returned with questions." Ronke pointed at him. "He is lying to save himself." Musa pulled out his phone. "My messages are here." He held it towards Seiyi. Ronke moved as if to snatch it. Tayo stepped between them. "Do not touch anything," Seiyi continued. The next screen showed a table of voucher serials, 47 numbers, redemption dates, locations. 11 used across 3 districts within hours. The earliest duplicate, 6 weeks before Ease applied as a vendor. She could not have created the original pattern, Sei said. Her vendor profile did not exist at the time. The next display showed the Ojota gate log and the black truck photographed by Dealey. Time: 11:52 am. Cargo: 312 Ajage Zone 4 household packs. Destination in the system. Community partner distribution. Destination on the commercial invoice. Private corporate catering event. The following pages traced more shipments. 1,437 cartons. 5 community partner codes. Commercial invoices matching quantities and dates. Total confirmed irregular value: 28,743,500 naira. The ballroom had become so quiet that the projector fan could be heard. Ronke looked at Tayo. Tayo, listen to me. These are accounting classifications. The food was reallocated to protect revenue and replaced later. Sei answered before Tayo could. No replacement records exist. Ronke snapped at him. You do not understand operations. We had targets. We had investor commitments. We had spoilage risks. Chief Bode's voice was calm. So you sold food meant for hungry people and counted it as charity. I protected the company. You protected numbers. Ronke's control cracked. Numbers keep companies alive. Compassion does not pay salaries. Sentiment does not maintain warehouses. I grew margins while everybody else was busy taking photographs with old women. Tayo stared at her. Profit built on stolen meals is not growth. It is hunger wearing a suit. The room erupted in applause. Tayo raised one hand. The applause stopped. He looked towards the screens, then at Ease. His face showed no triumph, only shame. Ronke saw it and tried one final direction. You are blaming me for doing what leadership rewarded. Every quarter, you praised efficiency. Every board meeting, you demanded improved margins. You never asked how. Tayo flinched. She continued, louder now. You sat in your office looking at green dashboards. I gave you green dashboards. Do not stand there as if you are innocent. Chief Bode turned towards his son. The room waited. Tayo could have defended himself. He could have said he did not know. He could have blamed fraud, staff, or complexity. Instead, he took the microphone. She is right about one thing. Ronke stared. Tayo looked at the audience. I did not order theft. I did not know vouchers were duplicated. But I built a management structure where original complaints could not reach me without passing through the people being complained about. I accepted summaries because they were convenient. I measured cartons leaving warehouses, not meals reaching human beings. I praised results without asking enough questions. He drew a breath. That failure belongs to me. Chief Bode watched his son carefully. Tayo continued. Not knowing does not erase leadership responsibility when the system was designed under my authority. The confession changed the room more deeply than a denial would have. Ronke looked around, searching for support. None came. Sei displayed the vendor blacklist review. 63 cases. 41 linked to complaints about unofficial processing fees or refusal to make payments. 22 supported by documented sanitation, delivery, or compliance breaches. We are not declaring every rejected applicant innocent, Sei said. We are separating real violations from retaliation. Fairness requires both. Ease looked at the list. 41 names. 41 businesses pushed away because somebody refused to pay or asked a question. Her own suffering widened beyond her. Tayo faced Ronke and Musa. Effective immediately. Both of you are suspended pending disciplinary proceedings and referral of evidence to the appropriate authorities. All access is revoked. You will not delete, remove, or alter company property. Ronke laughed. but the sound was broken. "You cannot do this in front of guests. I am not convicting you in front of guests. I am suspending you in front of the same people before whom you tried to convict Ese." Hotel security moved closer. Musa handed his phone to the legal representative. Ronke did not move. She looked at Ese. Hatred filled her face. This woman destroyed everything. Ese climbed back onto the stage. "No," she said. "I gave food to a hungry man. You destroyed yourself because you believed poor people had no witnesses." A sound moved through the room. Not laughter. Recognition. Ronke's shoulders dropped. For the first time, she looked smaller than the title she had used to frighten people. Security escorted her from the ballroom. Musa followed separately, his head bent. Nobody cheered. The absence of celebration made the consequence heavier. This was not a movie prison door closing in one dramatic second. It was the beginning of audits, interviews, legal notices, frozen accounts, and questions that could no longer be silenced. After they left, the audit committee chair asked Ese to remain on stage. A board member spoke into the microphone. "Ms. Adebayo, the company owes you an apology. We would also like to discuss a suitable leadership or advisory role for you in the program." Ese looked at the oversized check still resting near the podium. Then she looked at the guests. "First, clear my name." The board member nodded quickly. "Of course, not only in this room. Use the same pages, partner groups, and vendor channels that carried the accusation." "Yes." "Then calculate the income I lost from cancelled orders and blocked kitchen access. Do not call it kindness. Call it compensation." Tayo lowered his head. Ese continued. "Review all 63 blacklist cases. Those who truly failed safety standards should correct them. Those punished for refusing illegal fees should be restored." The audit chair nodded. "And after that?" "After that, let my food compete fairly." The board member looked surprised. "You do not want an appointment?" Ese shook her head. "I want opportunity, not decoration. Dignity is not a favor you hand to me from a stage." For a second, nobody moved. Then Chief Bode began to clap. Tayo joined him. The applause spread across the ballroom, stronger than before. Ese did not smile immediately. She stood inside the sound and allowed herself to breathe. Her name was no longer on the floor. 6 weeks later, Okafor Foods published the findings of the independent review. The company's statement did not hide behind the word misunderstanding. It said Ese Adebayo had been falsely accused after vouchers were deliberately placed in her bag by a security officer acting within a wider effort to conceal program irregularities. The statement appeared on the company website, social media pages, vendor portal, and partner channels that had shared the edited video. A separate letter confirmed that no criminal complaint had ever been filed against her. Ese received compensation based on documented losses, cancelled food orders, unusable ingredients, damaged equipment, transport, kitchen exclusion, and the period her vendor profile remained blocked. The amount was reviewed with the Legal Support Center. It was not a random gift. Every naira had a reason. The audit of 63 blacklisted vendors produced mixed results. 41 regained eligibility after evidence showed retaliation or improper fees. 22 remained suspended until they corrected genuine safety, delivery, or documentation failures. Ese approved of that outcome. "Justice is not replacing one lie with another," she told Chief Bode. "Poor people can make mistakes too. The difference is that mistakes should be proven, not planted." Ronke's employment was terminated after the disciplinary process. The evidence concerning diverted goods, false records, and unofficial fees was referred for further investigation. Her professional reputation collapsed under the weight of documented choices, not rumors. Musa lost his position. His cooperation and surrender of messages were recorded, but they did not remove his responsibility. He had opened Ese's bag with his own hands. Fear of Ronke explained his action. It did not excuse it. Sei remained with the company under whistleblower protection. His mortgage confirmation was processed through an independent human resources review. His younger brother's supplier application was moved to a separate panel so that neither punishment nor favor would influence it. Tayo faced the board. He kept his position, but not without conditions. The board required quarterly independent reporting, direct audit access to the chief executive, and external review of the One Plate Forward program. Tayo accepted. He also did something that embarrassed him more than any public statement. He began visiting distribution points without executive notice, not in disguise, not to trap staff, to listen. At the first visit, a woman told him the queue had no shade. At the second, an elderly man explained that the scanner operator announced failed vouchers loudly, making everybody stare. At the third, a volunteer admitted that recipients were often asked to pose for photographs before collecting food. Tayo wrote everything down. He discovered that leadership of a dashboard was comfortable because numbers never looked back at him. People did. One Plate Forward changed its measures. The company no longer counted only cartons leaving warehouses. Partner organizations had to confirm meals received, while random beneficiaries were contacted through consent-based checks. Complaints moved to an independent channel outside operations. Voucher failures generated private review slips instead of public rejection. Staff received training on respectful communication. No recipient's face could be used in publicity without clear consent. Small vendors were assessed through published criteria: food safety, cost, nutrition, delivery capacity, blind tasting where possible. No single executive controlled approval. When the new vendor assessment opened, Ese submitted her application again. Some board members expected her to win automatically. Tayo refused. If we hand her the contract because we feel guilty, we repeat the same mistake in another direction, he said. The process must be fair enough that she can win on evidence. Ese agreed. She prepared her samples in a licensed shared kitchen this time. 27 portions again. Jollof rice, moi, steamed vegetables. Each pack carried the same careful label. Prepared at 4:12 a.m. Contains egg and crayfish. No groundnut. Consume before 2:30 p.m. The tasting panel did not see vendor names during the first round. Ese's food ranked first for flavor, second for cost efficiency, and first for labeling and safety controls. Her production plan passed the kitchen inspection. Her delivery schedule was adjusted after reviewers found one unrealistic time estimate. She corrected it without argument. She won a 6-month pilot contract, 600 meals a week. Not because she had fed the founder, because she could cook, plan, label, and deliver. On the day she signed the contract, Chief Bode came to the office. He wore a navy suit this time. The receptionist stood quickly when she saw him. Ese laughed. "Chief, today they recognize you." He looked at the receptionist, then at Ese. "That is why I prefer the brown caftan. It tells me who people are before my name interferes." Ese shook her head. "Do not start another secret test." Chief Bode raised both hands. "No more tests. My doctor and your temper will not allow it." For the first time, they laughed together without pain sitting between them. Later that afternoon, Tayo joined his father in a quiet conference room. "Why did you not warn me earlier?" Tayo asked. Chief Bode looked out through the window at delivery trucks moving below. "I warned the company through letters. I never saw them. That is not defense. That is evidence." Tayo frowned. "Evidence of what?" "That you built a system where telling you became useless." Tayo looked down. Chief Bode continued. A leader should not only ask, "Why did nobody tell me?" He should ask, "What did I build that made speaking dangerous or pointless?" Tayo nodded slowly. I thought delegation meant trust. It does. But trust without verification becomes shelter for anybody who knows how to produce good reports. I should have known. No leader knows everything. Then how do I prevent this? You do not prevent every wrong. You build doors through which truth can enter before wrong becomes culture. Tayo sat with that answer. Outside, the trucks continued moving. Food was easy to transport. Truth required better roads. 3 months later, Ese opened a small licensed kitchen in Ageji. She named it the Last Plate Kitchen. The signboard carried burnt orange and light turquoise, the colors she had worn on the day her life broke open. Inside were 2 commercial burners, a stainless preparation table, a chest freezer, covered waste bins, and a hand-washing station with running water. Nothing was luxurious. Everything worked. Ese employed 4 adults from the area and trained them to label food properly. She kept temperature sheets beside the serving counter. She refused to buy ingredients without traceable receipts. When somebody complained that her rules were too strict for a small kitchen, she replied, "Small business does not mean small responsibility." Every afternoon, 17 meals were set aside through a community-supported fund. The number was deliberate. It reminded Ese of the 17,850 nira she had spent when she believed one contract could rescue her. The meals were not handed out beneath a charity banner. People collected them from the same counter as paying customers. Nobody was required to tell a sad story. Nobody was photographed without permission. Nobody was made to stand in a line marked poor. On the first Friday after opening, Chief Bode arrived in his faded brown kaftan. He came alone to the counter, though Delay waited outside in the vehicle. Ese saw him and folded her arms. "Where is your money?" Chief Bode tapped his pocket. "Today I came prepared." "Good. This kitchen is not free because your surname is on a building." He placed the correct amount on the counter. 1 jollof rice. Moi. Small vegetables. Pepper? Moderate. I am managing my blood pressure. Ese served him and pointed towards a table. "No founder's seat, I did not ask. You were thinking it." Chief Bode laughed and sat among the other customers. Tayo arrived 20 minutes later, still wearing his cobalt blue suit from a meeting. He looked around for his father and found him eating beside a mechanic and a school administrator. Ese handed Tayo an apron. "What is this?" he asked. "You came during rush hour. I am the customer. You are also the CEO, who said leaders should see how work happens." Tayo looked at the line forming behind him. Chief Bode did not help. He kept eating. Tayo removed his suit jacket, tied the cream apron, and spent 15 minutes packing takeaway boxes under Essie's instruction. "Not like that," she corrected. "Vegetables should not press the moi. Yes, ma. Close the lid well. Yes, ma. Do not squeeze your face. Work is not insult." Chief Bode laughed so hard he had to put down his spoon. The customers joined him. Tayo smiled despite himself. For once, his title did not control the room. His hands did. When the rush ended, Ese sat opposite Chief Bode with her own plate. The old man looked at it. "My daughter, have you eaten today?" Ese smiled. "Yes, Chief. You are sure?" She lifted her spoon. "This time, I kept a portion for myself." Chief Bode nodded. That small answer carried the whole journey. Ese had not become wealthy overnight. Her kitchen still had bills. Some days deliveries were late. Some customers complained. The contract could be renewed only if she met standards. Rong's legal case did not end in one dramatic week. Rebuilding trust took longer than destroying it. But Ese's name belonged to her again. Her work stood on evidence. And a company that once counted cartons began counting whether human beings were treated like human beings. From my own perspective, the deepest lesson is not that kindness will always bring a rich man to your door. Life does not reward good people so quickly or so neatly. Many kind acts are never seen by powerful people. Many honest workers must still fight for justice without a founder standing nearby. The real lesson is harder. Hunger does not remove dignity. Poverty does not cancel intelligence. A uniform, a title, or a bank balance does not give anybody permission to humiliate another person. And when an organization claims to help people, the true measure is not the beauty of its banners or the number of cartons in its report. The true measure is what happens when a hungry person's voucher fails, when a small vendor asks a difficult question, and when an employee risks speaking the truth. One meal can fill a stomach for one day. A fair system can stop thousands of people from being forced to beg for what was already meant for them. And sometimes, the last plate reveals the first truth.